Okay, so I've just been able to test the mic and it works. And even though the video quality is not particularly great, it does work as well. So that's a good thing. Um, I suppose I'm just doing this video because I've got Star Trek on the brain, and I guess I just want to be talking about it. I was in a play of Measure of a Man about, a month ago, 2 months ago. It went really fast this year so far. And I just really loved it. It was the best. I played Data. It was the best experience in a theater that I've ever had, and I felt very realized playing that role because it's a role that means a lot to me. Just means a lot to me in general. Star Trek, but Data means, I'd say, the most to me. Out of every Star Trek character that there is, because, when you're watching the TV and you're looking and people say that, oh, this character really spoke to me, or, I really see myself in X character or Y character. I never really got that, ever, with anything. Honestly, I've never seen myself on television in any character, and I think the problem is just that the same kinds of characters and stories tend to be told over and over, just in different ways and with different people, and so, it feels as if all the stories are different, but at the end of the day, you'd think it wouldn't be so difficult for somebody like me, with autism. You'd think it would be easier, or just not this strenuous in general, to find any character that you identify with. But it's honestly true that as an autistic person, I've never seen any character like me in any form of media that was satisfactory. Because there have been representations, don't get me wrong, there have been lots, but a lot of them just feed into many existing stereotypes, and although in many cases stereotypes contain aspects of people with autism's personalities that are the truth, because it's not as if there is no autistic person out there who doesn't behave like, say, for example, Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, whose character I low-key loathe. But there are people out there who see these stereotypical representations, and of course they see themselves, but because it's a stereotype, because it's so just, I read the diagnostic criteria of Asperger's and just gave every single one of them to this character, and I've created a character who really, I'd say, 0.1% of people with autism are actually like. And, good for them that they've been represented, but I think even if they watch the show, those people watch the shows, and they saw those characters, they would see that oftentimes those characters, like Sheldon Cooper, are treated as a joke, and not really looked at as a person, rather just a collection of quirks that can be laughed at for audiences and for money to, and for, neurotypical people to enjoy themselves. I guess, at the expense of people who have to have these experiences and live with these personalities every day. I suppose this is where Star Trek comes in. So I did never feel represented by these things in the past, and when I watched Star Trek The Next Generation, I felt myself really connecting with the character of Data. And you may think Data is not a person, and he wasn't created with the intention of representing people with autism, or just even me specifically. And, you know, on both counts you would be right. You would be correct, because I have no doubt in my mind that the people behind Next Gen didn't go out of their way to make Data this kind of, I suppose, significant or, affecting representation of people like me, but they did it. They somehow, unintentionally, created a character who I felt more able, represented me so perfectly. And that was the thing. It wasn't just like I see bits of myself in Data. It's I see all of myself in Data. And that's a very significant thing for somebody. That's a very significant thing, to finally see all of yourself put out on the TV, and in a sense normalized. And I know you're probably thinking, well, Data isn't really normalized. He's an android, and that comes up. But in the context of Star Trek, his behavior is normal. It may not be the same as everyone else's, but it is his norm. It is just him. It's not seen as abnormal at all. It's just how he is. And the reason why I think that really stuck with me is because, unlike in my life, we have two people behaving, similarly, identically almost, maybe even completely, and being treated so astoundingly differently by their peers. In my life, I've often just been told to be quiet, and my interests are not to be shared. My awkwardness is discouraged. I've been told to unlearn my behaviors and, the things I say and how I say things. And I've been told just repeatedly by so many people that the way I am as a person, very committed to certain activities, I would say quite empathetic, actually, and I think that's a common misconception about people with autism, that there's no empathy there. That I would say isn't true, and I think even in Data's case, he is quite an empathetic person, android. He does not like his friends suffering, and, I think that's empathy. At least it's sympathy, but I think, especially towards the end of the series and into the movies, he really, really shows that empathetic side of himself a lot more as the character developed. I've strayed the point, but no, I think, in the way I act, the way I speak, the way I interact with other people, in this very sort of stiff and confused and quizzical way, which I have done all my life, and it's very difficult for me to not do. I've just had constant daily experiences of, micro and macro aggressions making me feel as if, this isn't acceptable, and that I should have to unlearn every single, to use a metaphor, I guess, or an analogy, I don't know, way I'm wired. I have to rewire everything. And the difference is, on the Enterprise, nobody, except maybe Commander Maddox in Measure of a Man, but none of the main crew, except, and again, maybe Pulaski, but I think by the end of it she also comes around, nobody ever makes Data feel as if his personality is unwelcome on the Enterprise, that the things he does are, so abnormal that they are to be discouraged. Data is allowed to just be himself and grow and explore the things he wants to explore, and his journey as a character to learn more about humanity, to become more like a human. He is allowed, he's nurtured, he's just given a very welcoming and positive space to be who he is and grow as an individual because of that. And I think, and because I've always thought, if I feel as if I'm, just like him, why is it that, I don't literally act exactly like him at all times? And I think the reason may be in just the huge difference between the environments we live in, because I think if I had been allowed act how I act and be how I am my whole life, and given that safety and comfort and acceptance that he's given on the Enterprise among his friends and those people who understand him, I would probably have expanded upon these parts of my personality that I'm constantly told that I need to eliminate. And those are parts of my personality that are like Data, that wanting to learn more, extreme focus on, specific things that he's learning about. I'm trying to think now. Constant search for identity in a body that doesn't precisely match the biology one would have initially desired. It's just that constant learning and questioning humanity and wondering and growing that Data is allowed to do, that I've just been so constantly discouraged from doing. And it's just the way we both interact with people, kind of polite, quizzical, respectful. I've been told I need to lighten up. I've also been told I need to be less serious, and then when I make a joke, and you know how Data is with humor, I'm much the same, not very good. When I do make a joke, it's usually met with silence, and it feels like I don't know. It's as if I made the opposite of a joke. I don't know, like, it's given dead space, nothing. And, I could go on, and I have this list that I've written. Not really a list, more like just a bunch of thoughts kind of ordered, in which I describe our similarities more, in cleaner words and just faster and easier to digest, than watching a 15-minute video. But I think that if I had been given a space to nurture, my true personality, the personality that is me, if I had been given the space to explore that, I would have. But I don't do that. I'm just constantly told, no, 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 this isn't normal, so don't do it. And on the other side of it, I think if Data had been told if Data's life had just been full of Pulaskis and Maddoxes, I don't think he would be the individual he is at the start of the Next Generation. You know, there's already this confidence that he seems to have in himself that I think he managed to attain through this encouragement and positivity just outside of the Enterprise before he joined. Just everybody seems to treat him very well and respectfully. And if he hadn't had that, I'd say he'd probably have wound up more like how I am now. Yeah. And so, when we did the play, I made sure that I had to get everything as right as I possibly could, you know? This character has meant so much to me. I've taken all of these similarities that I have with Data, and I've taken them throughout my life. And once I kind of identified this similarity, it was a way that I was really able to understand how I act, how I am, how I navigate life as a whole, and honestly, not understanding before, it was a confusing time, but through connecting with a character that I liked, who was just like me, I think that helped me like myself more. And, you know, just taking this identification throughout your life and really, it becomes part of you. The character becomes, in a sense, living inside of your identity. And I know that makes me sound kind of insane, which is why I don't really talk about it, except on videos on my laptop at 1:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, but, you know, that's it, that's how I am. And in a sense, this character is not a work of fiction anymore, because, you know, I feel as if a perfect facsimile of this character, everything he would do, say, act, is a part of me that was kind of already there, if you know what I mean. It has taken me quite a long time to come up with that exact phrasing of it, but, you know, that's what I came up with. And I think it's the closest I'm going to get to sort of defining it. Which is why that I had to make sure that I got it so right when we did Measure of a Man. In terms of acting, but also just in terms, and I know this is kind of wrong to say, but in terms of how I look, I think I am more fortunate than other people who might feel as if they have to perfectly resemble Data, in the sense that, you know, I'm a pasty white guy with dark hair. I have that going for me. But I am 5'6" 3/4. I'm pretty sure I'm heavier than Brent Spiner. I am trans. I know that hasn't come up very much. Funny how that is, isn't it? It was my whole life so many years ago, but now it's nothing to me. The closer I come to just being finished with my medical transition, I'm one of those trans people. And, you know, it's still something that I worry about in terms of cosplay, because I have a very strangely shaped body. It's another way I kind of feel kinship with Data, this feeling as if one's body will never be the ideal that they wish it was. Data wishes to be like a normal human, but his biology, despite how much he tries and how hard he learns and what he learns about humanity, there's nothing that can undo that biology. And for me, it's much the same. As much as I try and pretend to be, not even pretend, just live my life as a man, even as a trans man, there is even if nobody knew, there's this feeling just in one's head where you know that the truth of biology is that that's not the case. I know that, this is all very much up for debate because, our body's inherently gendered, no, but, there's a difference between understanding that society thinks one thing and knowing, the truth of the matter. If it is the truth, I don't claim to be, selling the truth here. It's just my truth. But, going back to cosplay and playing him in the show, I wanted to make sure it was as perfect as I could, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I feel as if my personality matches with Data so much, I feel as if my aesthetic should also match as perfectly. And, I know, again, there's no real way to achieve that other than, actually, no, there is no way to achieve that, and I think there are some people who pull it off very well. That's just because they got, maybe exponentially lucky in the looks department and the body shape department. I'm also kind of chunky. I'm losing a bit of weight right now because I'm on a sort of diet, which I hope to continue because if I get thinner, maybe my Starfleet uniform will fit me better. A very, not, what is it? It's a very strange motivation for weight loss, for sure, but unconventional, one might say, but, that's the truth of it. I'm not doing it for my health, I'm doing it for my Star Trek. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I could say before I just sign off on this? Because I feel as if I should end it in a more definitive conclusion-esque way. But, well, about the whole thing of going and entering the workforce, I am heavily considering entering the workforce just so I can go to Germany and meet Brent Spiner and even tell him a fraction of what I shared here, because even sharing a small amount would still, be so big for me. And, I don't know what he would do with that information. Nothing, most certainly. But I'm an actor myself, and I think that there's a lot to say for doing a performance that has meant as much to me, to anyone. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, the reason I'm an actor is so I can give to somebody what Mr. Spiner managed to give to me, and that's saying something, I suppose. And I think if there was anything that I'd like to tell him, it would be that. If I could say only one line, it would probably be that one. And so that's why I kind of want to get a job and work for a month, and just because even if I was earning minimum wage, I would still be able to afford the trip if I did the work for 4 weeks, so, which I have the time to do. So yeah, wow. I am kind of writing a play about this whole thing. It's not specifically related to Data. It's more, well, no, it is. He does explicitly get mentioned, so it is. I have written a play about this experience that I've had of just life that I'm trying to get submitted to a festival, so it'll be all over my Twitter if I do, so, you know, stay tuned, I suppose. I suppose the internet can only do so much in terms of, you know, bodies and such. Let's see if I can just... yes, this is right. I am about this, heavy and such. I am wearing a jacket. Hold on, I'll take it off. Oh, perfect. This is my sort of girth, I suppose. So yeah, I kind of look like this. I know this isn't Brent Spiner's exact shape, but, you know, see if I can get my legs in there. Can you see? Yeah, that really was pointless, but that was just to give you an idea of the shape of my body. Losing weight, as I said, see if I can, you know, be a better android, but that's about it. I'll leave it at that, of course, and that's everything. So thank you for listening to that random tirade.